feel like I'm born again. Me and Gets on the track and it's feeling like the rooftop all again. Yeah, we're firing that corn again. Get the toe tag.
Hello, it's your host, Rizari Doug Science. How's everybody doing? Today's episode is a little bit of a reminiscent one. We're going down memory lane. Well, that's what we've been doing actually. So, the grime scene, make spaces, and hack spaces. So, I remember growing up. I grew up when, in my teenagehood, on rock and roll music, hip hop, and many other genre of music, indie. There's one genre of music that was just popping off when I was a teenager, that just emerged out of the ashes, it was birthed when I was a teenager, and this was the grime scene. And I was in close proximity when this music genre was birthed. The parents of the grime scene was hip hop. If those that don't know, grime music is a genre of music in the UK, and it was birthed or created from hip hop, reggae, dancehall, and UK garage. So these four emerged to create what we call the grime scene. And at this time, there's some significance to why I'm talking about this. So at this time, this was around 2004, 2005, 2006. So I was about 14, 15, 16 respectively. So at this time, this is where this music was really was being created, was being birthed. I remember as a young teenager being around that scene. I remember seeing the likes of Tiny Temper, seeing the likes of Skepta, even Ed Sheeran. I remember seeing him around that scene at the time. Ed Sheeran, Gets, those that know him now as Gets, but before he used to be called Ghetto, man like Ghetto. So like these were people that I was in close proximity like around that time. I remember going to different things like the Eskimo raves, and this music scene was just popping off. It was a scene where I remember being on a playground, just seeing my friends having a beat, and they're just having lyrics in their head, written lyrics, sometimes freestyling the lyrics, but being able to flow on a beat. Whilst the beat is moving, they're just flowing with their lyrics on the beat, changing the tempo as changing the rhythm of them spitting their bars with the beat. For me, it was just a creative, beautiful time. This was like, some of my friends were MCs, some of my friends were producers. It was just a really, really creative time. A time like this when a new music genre is just popping off. You have different people just exercising their creativity. I remember my friend, one of my close friends in classroom, he would have his notebook. He'll be writing down all his lyrics on his notebook, even though he should be in class doing his work. But even in class, he's just writing down his lyrics. It was just an amazing time. And on the playground, people would be clashing. Different people would just be clashing with their lyrics, just remembering all their lyrics, and just when there's a beat, just clashing and just twisting and turning it. It was a really, really good time. It was a really, really, really good time. And one piece of thing that really helped, like my friends and a lot of grime artists at the time, was like you can find studios everywhere. Like everywhere you went, there was a studio. There was a studio in the local youth club, which they do need to open that back up. The local youth club had a studio, so people would go to the studio after school or on a Friday or on a Saturday. You had studios in people's basements, studios in people's rooms, just studios in their schools, studios everywhere. And the studio was where people went to create magic. Like when my friends would go to create magic, to create great music, great things, they would go there and just create. I really, really love this. I could see a lot of them have taken that career a bit further. But the studio was definitely a place where it helped them hone their skills. The likes of Tiny Temper, Gets, Skepta, like I just remember following their career because they were close proximity to myself. I just remember like that buzz, and the studio was the center part of that creativity, that creative expression. It was just, I don't know, it was just, it's a beautiful time. I'm reminiscent. It was just beautiful. But yeah, there was just studios everywhere, and they were definitely a part of the success of a lot of successful grime artists at the moment. That time was just a beautiful thing. For me, my creativity didn't really flow in that way. My creativity was more, when it came to music, I was good at dancing. Dancing was how I expressed my musicality, but it wasn't really, music wasn't really my passion. My passion didn't express that way. I didn't make music. I wasn't an MC. Have some lyrics, but I don't know if you guys want to hear that. It was just because some of my friends were part of a crew. Sometimes you need to have some lyrics, just so you can keep up. I had one set of bars I'd use all the time. I'm not going to spit it right now, but one set of bars that whenever people are just spitting, I'll just come in, I'll just spit that, and I'm out. That just wasn't my way for me to express my creativity. My creativity was for me flowed in a direction of writing stories, creating worlds of stories. I loved writing stories. I wasn't the best at doing it, but I loved doing it. And over the years, it's just, that's where I'm good at creating the worlds of stories. All types of stories I love. I can just create stories on the fly. I'm good at creating the world, the infrastructure of it. But coming down to just writing it, But yeah, that's where I express some of my creativity. And in science and technology, I have books and books of just writing different inventions and things down. I love tinkering. I love thinking of solutions of things. So my creativity flowed in that direction. But the reason why I bring the grime scene up in this is because, like I said, a lot of my friends had this creativity and they expressed that creativity through grime music. I didn't have places where I could express my inventions, where to create my inventions. It was very difficult. If you listen to my last podcast episode, you probably saw the journey that I went down of trying to create my first idea, my first invention, which wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy at all. But one of the things that it wasn't easy, didn't make it easy, is because I didn't have a place where I could go and test and create my idea, to go and reiterate my ideas, to tinker. I couldn't find a place to do that. But further on down the line, I started to discover make spaces and hack spaces where there's labs where you can go and create things. And I wish I had this when I was growing up. Make spaces, hack spaces, spaces like these. I wished I had these growing up. I would be there all the time, just like my friends were at the studio all the time. I would be at these labs, these hack spaces, these make spaces. I would be there all the time. So I had so many ideas and things I wanted to work on, but I couldn't. I had very minimal things to use to work on them. I just had my mental lab and scraps to work on, but it wasn't good enough. And this is a big problem for me, to be honest, because there's so many ideas that people have that they're unable to create their own prototypes. Now they're able to do it, but when I was younger, I just didn't have those places to go. They didn't exist. Or if they did, I didn't know. So spaces like these, make spaces, hack spaces, these are very important aspects, I think, of a community. There's a make space in Cambridge that I went to that I really, really loved. It was amazing. It was the first time I went into a hack space or a make space, and it had the things that I needed. This is after I parked my idea on the shelf, but all in all, spaces like these are very, very, very important. Very important for a community. Very important in people expressing their creativity. Like I said, everybody's creativity flows in different places. For me, that was one of the places. Because like sometimes in a community, just in general, you may have an idea, an invention, but you don't really know where to. You may need a place to create, to hack. So these hack spaces are popping up everywhere, and I'm loving this so much. I'm loving it so much. One story that pops into mind why hack spaces and make spaces are very, very important. Have you guys seen this this film? It's on Netflix. Well, I think it was Netflix. It's called The Boy That Harnessed the Wind. The Boy That Harnessed the Wind. I love this film. It's based on a true story. It's basically this young kid. It's not a kid anymore, but it was a young kid. His name was William Kamwamba, and he grew up in a little village. In a little village. I forgot the country's name, but it's a country in Africa. He grew up there, and the whole community was suffering from one of the baddest droughts that they had in a long time. So this means that food was started to become scarce, because the ground was just dry. There was no rain, and food was becoming scarce. The way of life. People had to move out of the village, run away from the village, had to find somewhere else to go. But people left in the village were struggling. This young boy had a vision of how to solve the problems of the village using dynamos, creating a wind turbine, hence the word harness the wind. So he had this great idea, but he struggled. This idea was to help the community. This idea was to help, was to solve a problem, but he did not have the facilities. He did not have the money. He did not have the space to tinker, all the materials needed to tinker. So sometimes the solution is just there amongst us, but there's just not the right facilities or tools. Like there's some kids right now that have brilliant ideas, brilliant way of thinking, but they're just not being harnessed. The facilities is just not there. So in this case, the facilities weren't there. He struggled. He had to just beg, and people just didn't believe in him. His father initially didn't believe that believed in him, that he had a solution for this. Just didn't believe. But he just persevered. He said no. He just kept on. He knew he had this great idea to help, this innovation to help the village to basically gather water and use the water to create crops, to use the water for the crops, so that I think it was in a well, but it was to use this dynamo to pump it out and spread it across the ground so that they can use it for the crops too, so they can still grow food even though there's a drought. But he did not have a facility, money, a make space, all of that. And that film popped into mind when it comes to hack spaces and make spaces, because these spaces are very, very, very very important part of our community. Because in a technological world that we're living in, though not everything has to be around technology, no, but they do have their uses. So we need spaces like these, hack spaces and make spaces, and we need to promote them, because like I said, a lot of people have solution to a lot of the challenges we face, but they're just not connected to the facilities that they need to create. Like with my idea, I wish I had such a facility. It would have made my life a lot more easier. So a place where I can test. It would have made my life much a lot more easier. And yeah, so I just know that these type of places are very, very vitally important. Very, very important. Yeah, so this is literally a quick a quick episode on the grime scene, make space and hack spaces. It's very, very important. Hack spaces are very, very important. I've been to a few. You've got bio hack spaces, so these are places where it's biological labs, so you can do chemistry there, biology there. But these places you need to have I think you need not screening, but they need to do some tests or something before you can use these ones. There's one in London, which is quite cool. There's hack spaces and make spaces everywhere now. There's a few in Cambridge and Peterborough. They're very, very, very good. If you don't know any of them, I'll put a lot of them in the description below. But I feel like in every community, every part, every city, every town should have a make space and a hack space. They're very important because we can't have all the things that we need in our house. Some people have a really good DIY in their garage. That's brilliant. Not everybody has a garage. Not everybody has that facility. So a place where you can go and pay to use, to tinker, pay a monthly fee to tinker is brilliant. To say that, I'm even working on one in Ghana, a space like this. It's called a Creation Lab. You can follow it on Facebook. This is something that is very, very important to me. Very, very important. Like I said, I know a lot of people that have brilliant, brilliant ideas. They just don't have the facilities or just the knowledge to help them on that innovation. Because if you care about something, really care about something in your community, you would more likely have the resilience needed to keep persevering, the resilience needed to push that idea forward, to find that solution, because you care about it. But if you don't have the facilities and tools, that just makes things a lot more harder. And you know they're saying, how many people, where is the richest place on earth? A lot of people would say it's the grave. Why? Because how many ideas have people had and not been able to implement before they died? It's countless. Simply because they may not have had one reason is that they may not have had the facilities, finances, the things that they needed to bring that idea, that invention to the world. So they perished, and those ideas, gone. So that saying where the graveyard is one of the richest places on earth, it's a saying, and it holds some merit. So I'm an advocate when it comes to that, to make spaces and hack spaces, because I know what something like that, because like studios, like when I was growing up, what studios were able to do for people, for them to express their creativity, especially in music, was priceless. A lot of people, they've become successful because they had an access to the studio. They can go there, express themselves there, work on their craft, what they love, keep them out of trouble. These things are important. In the UK, the youth clubs, youth clubs are a place where teenagers, young people would go and socialize. I'm digressing a little. So there's a place where teenagers would come and socialize, and most youth clubs had a studio, which was cool. It was a place where they can just it's a place where magic is created. But yeah, anyway, like I said, this was a quick episode. Please stay tuned. More cool episodes will be coming. And yeah, thank you for listening. And remember, guys, stay curious and always stay blessed as you are. Peace.